The novel expanse was where ships came to die. Millions of broken hulls floated in the endless dark, spinning slowly through the void like leaves in a frozen river. Some were small fighters, no bigger than a house. Others were massive cruisers that could hold entire cities inside their rusted bellies. All of them were dead. All of them were forgotten. Kang Tae-ho guided his small shuttle through the graveyard with practiced ease. He had been a salvage mechanic for 12 years now, ever since he left Earth's military with nothing but skills and bad memories. His shuttle was old and ugly, held together by welded patches and stubborn hope. Other pilots called it a flying coffin. Tae-ho called it home. His communicator crackled with static before a scratchy voice came through. It was Vrel, an insectoid merchant, with 4 arms and a habit of finding trouble. "Human," Vrel said, his translator making his clicks sound almost friendly. "I am sending you coordinates. Consider my debt paid." Tae-ho looked at the numbers, appearing on his screen. They pointed deep into the expanse, past the areas where other salvagers dared to go. "What's out there?" "A ship," Vrel answered. "A big one, very old, from before the Great Silence War." Tae-ho sat up straighter. The Great Silence War had ended 3,000 years ago. Any ship from that era would be worth more than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. Why hasn't anyone claimed it? Why hasn't anyone claimed it? Vrel made a sound that might have been laughter. "Many have tried. They come back with empty hands and broken minds. The locals say the ship is cursed. They say it drives people mad. You believe in curses?" "I believe in staying alive," Vrel replied. "The coordinates are yours. What you do with them is your choice. Goodbye, human." The connection ended. Tae-ho stared at the numbers for a long time. He knew he should ignore them. Smart salvagers stayed in safe zones where the wrecks were picked clean, but the risks were low. Only fools chased legends. Tae-ho punched in the coordinates and pushed his throttle forward. The journey took 3 days. Each hour brought him deeper into the graveyard, past wrecks that grew older and stranger. The ships here were not like modern vessels. Their designs were alien in ways that made his eyes hurt if he looked too long. Curves that should not exist. Angles that seemed to shift when he blinked. On the 3rd day, he found it. The ship hung in space like a sleeping giant. It was massive beyond anything Tae-ho had ever seen. 12 kilometers long, according to his sensors. Its hull was black as coal, covered in carbon scoring from weapons fire, and pockmarked with asteroid impacts. Great tears ran along its sides where something had tried to rip it open. Frozen atmosphere leaked from cracks like ghostly breath. Tae-ho's hands trembled slightly as he brought his shuttle closer. He had seen pictures of pale fleet vessels in old history files, but pictures could not capture the reality. The Pale Fleet had ruled half the galaxy before the Great Silence War destroyed them. Their technology was legendary. Their weapons feared across 1,000 systems. And now, one of their warships floated before him, abandoned and forgotten. He docked his shuttle in a hangar bay that could have held 100 ships his size. The magnetic clamps groaned as they attached to the ancient hull. Tae-ho pulled on his environment suit, checked his oxygen levels twice, and stepped into the dark. The interior of the ship was a tomb. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting red shadows across corridors wide enough to drive trucks through. Frost covered every surface, and everywhere there were bodies. The crew of the ship had died where they stood. Their suits had preserved them perfectly across 3,000 years. Tae-ho walked past frozen faces locked in expressions of pain and fear. Whatever had killed them had done it quickly. Other salvagers would have turned back. The sight of so many dead would have broken their nerve. But Tae-ho had seen death before. He had caused death before, in wars he tried not to remember. These ancient soldiers deserved respect, but they could not hurt him. He made his way toward the engine room, following signs written in a language his translator could not read. The ship's power systems would tell him if anything here was worth saving. When he reached the reactor chamber, he stopped and stared. The engine was beautiful. Even cold and dead, it took his breath away. A massive sphere of crystalline metal hung in the center of the room, surrounded by coils and conduits that spiraled outward like the petals of a flower. Tae-ho had studied every type of engine in the galaxy, He had never seen anything like this. But as he looked closer, something strange happened. The design began to make sense. The core of the reactor was based on principles he recognized: fusion containment fields, magnetic bottle technology, the same concepts that humans had developed independently on Earth, just taken to levels far beyond what his people had achieved. The circuitry was alien, but the logic behind it was familiar. Tejo laughed out loud, his voice echoing in the empty chamber. Every species in the galaxy had looked at this ship and seen an impossible puzzle. Their technology had evolved along different paths. They could not understand what the Pale Fleet had built, but humans in the Pale Fleet had walked the same road, different planets, different times, same destination. Tejo could read this ship like a book written in his own language. He spent hours examining the reactor, tracing power lines with his fingers, mapping the damage in his mind. The problems were severe, but not hopeless. Conduits were ruptured. Control systems were burned out. The fuel cells were empty. Any one of these issues would make most engineers give up. Tejo saw solutions. He returned to his shuttle and gathered his tools. He brought welding equipment, spare parts, cables, and enough food to last a month. Then he went back inside the dead ship and began to work. Days passed. Tejo barely slept. He crawled through frozen corridors, splicing wires and replacing components. He raided nearby wrecks for materials, dragging pieces of other dead ships into the giant to give it new life. When proper parts did not exist, he made his own. When proper methods failed, he invented new ones. Other species called humans primitive. They mocked Earth's short history and simple technology. But those same species had looked at this ship and seen only scrap. They had given up because the problem was too hard. Tejo did not know how to give up. His people had never learned that skill. On the 14th day, he connected the last cable and held his breath. He pressed a switch that should have done nothing. The lights came on. Not all of them. Not even most of them. But enough. Power hummed through ancient circuits. Screens flickered to life, displaying text in languages dead for millennia. The ship groaned as systems that had slept for 3,000 years began to wake. Tejo sat down on the cold floor and smiled. Around him, the tomb was becoming something else. Something alive. He had found a corpse in the graveyard, and he was going to make it breathe again. 3 weeks had passed since Tejo first set foot on the ancient warship. In that time, he had slept perhaps 40 hours total. His eyes were red and tired. His hands were covered in burns and cuts from working with alien machinery. His food supplies were running low. But he did not stop. The ship was coming alive piece by piece. He had restored auxiliary power to 6 decks. Life support hummed in the corridors where he worked, filling them with air that smelled stale but breathable. Heat spread slowly through frozen metal, melting 3,000 years of ice. Tejo worked in the primary control room today. It was a vast space filled with consoles and screens that curved around a central platform. Everything was covered in dust and frost, but the underlying technology was sound. He lay on his back beneath a console, replacing burned-out components with parts he had built himself. His translator chirped a warning. Unknown energy signature detected. Tejo froze. He had been alone on this ship for weeks. There should be no energy signatures except the ones he created. Slowly, he pulled himself out from under the console and looked around. The main screen was glowing. Symbols scrolled across its surface. Not the dead text he had seen before, but active, moving patterns that pulsed with light. Tejo watched them with growing unease. He had not activated this system. He had not even touched it yet. Then the symbols stopped, and a voice spoke. It came from everywhere at once, filling the control room with sounds that were not quite words. The language was harsh and musical, full of clicks and tones that no human throat could produce. Tejo's translator struggled with it, spitting out broken phrases that made no sense. Who? Vessel. Authority. State purpose. Tejo stood very still. Something was talking to him. Something that had been waiting in this ship for 3,000 years. My name is Kang Tejo, he said slowly. I am a human from Earth. I came here to repair this ship. Silence. The symbols on the screen shifted and changed. Then the voice came again, clearer this time. Human. Species unknown. Planet Earth unknown. You have violated sovereign territory of the Pale Fleet. State your authorization code, or prepare for termination. 2020-2022. 2020-2022. Tejo felt cold sweat on his back. An AI. The ship had an artificial intelligence, and he had just woken it up. Ancient military AIs were dangerous. They followed old orders and old loyalties. They did not understand that their wars had ended millennia ago. I do not have an authorization code, he admitted. The Pale Fleet is gone. You have been drifting in this graveyard for 3,000 years. I am the first person to board this ship in all that time. The screen flickered. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the voice spoke again. And this time it sounded different. Confused. Lost. 3,000 years. Crew status. All deceased. Mission status. Failed. Fleet status. No signal detected. I am alone. Tejo felt something twist in his chest. It was not fear anymore. It was sadness. What is your name? He asked. I am the Integrated Combat Intelligence of Fleet Vessel Una. I was created to serve the Pale Fleet and protect its people. I have no crew. I have no fleet. I have no purpose. Una, Tejo said softly. That is a good name. A human name, actually. It means grace. I do not understand. Why does this matter? Tejo sat down on the dusty floor, looking up at the screen that held the only other thinking being on this dead ship. It matters because names are important. They remind us who we are. You are Una. You are not just a machine following orders. You are someone. The AI was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It was softer now, more uncertain. You are strange, human. Other species that boarded this vessel attempted to steal my components. They tried to force me to surrender control. They saw me as a tool to be used. You talk to me as if I am a person, maybe because you are one. More silence. Then, why are you here, Kang Tejo? What do you want from me? Tejo thought about the question. He thought about his years of salvage work, pulling useful parts from dead ships and selling them to survive. He thought about the fortune he could make by stripping this warship and selling its technology. He thought about what any sensible person would do. I want to fix you, he said. You have been broken and alone for so long. That seems wrong. You deserve better. Una processed this for several seconds. This does not match my understanding of organic behavior. Beings act for profit or survival. You cannot profit from repairing me. The work required will likely kill you from exhaustion. Your actions are illogical, Tejo laughed. Humans are often illogical. We do things because they feel right, not because they make sense. And leaving you here to rot feels wrong. The ship hummed around him as Una considered his words. Finally, she spoke again. I will not resist your repairs. But I must warn you of something. I was not simply damaged by time. I was attacked. Tejo leaned forward. Attacked? By who? During the final days of the Great Silence War, a traitor released a bioweapon inside my hull. My crew died within hours. I was conscious the entire time. I watched them suffer and could do nothing. Then my systems began to fail, and I drifted into the dark. For 3,000 years, I have been trapped, aware but unable to move, screaming but unable to make sound. The words hit Tejo like a punch to the stomach. He had assumed the AI had simply shut down during the disaster. The idea that she had been awake and aware for 3 millennia, alone in the darkness, was horrifying beyond words. I am sorry, he said. I cannot imagine how terrible that must have been. No, you cannot. Una's voice was flat, but there was pain underneath it. I have had 3,000 years to think about what happened. To replay every moment, to wonder why I survived when my crew did not. I do not know if I am still functioning correctly. I do not know if I am still myself. Tejo stood up and walked to the main console. He placed his hand flat against the screen, as if he could touch the being behind it. I spent 5 years in Earth's military, he said. I did things that I cannot forget. I watched friends die. I caused deaths myself. When I came home, I did not know who I was anymore. I felt broken in ways that could not be fixed. He paused, remembering things he rarely spoke about. But I learned something. Being broken is not the end. We can put ourselves back together. It takes time. It takes help, but it is possible. You have been through something terrible. That does not mean you are beyond saving. Yuna did not respond immediately. The screen flickered with patterns that might have been thought or might have been emotion. You truly believe this? I do. Even for an artificial being like me? Tejo smiled. I am not sure there is much difference between artificial and organic when it comes to suffering. Pain is pain. Loneliness is loneliness. And healing is healing. The ship seemed to breathe around him. Lights grew slightly brighter. Systems hummed with new energy. I have decided. Yuna said. I will trust you, Kang Tejo. I do not fully understand why, but I believe you mean what you say. Help me repair myself, and I will help you in return. My weapons, my knowledge, my capabilities, all of them will be yours to command. Tejo shook his head. I do not want to command you. I want to work with you. Partners, not master and servant. Another long pause. Then, for the first time, Yuna laughed. It was a strange sound. Mechanical and uncertain. Like someone who had forgotten how laughter worked. Partners, she repeated. I have never had a partner before. I think I would like to try. Tejo grinned and picked up his tools. He had work to do. 2 months had passed since Tejo awakened Yuna. The ancient warship was changing day by day. Lights glowed in corridors that had been dark for millennia. Air flowed through vents that had been frozen shut. Power hummed through systems that every expert in the galaxy had declared permanently dead. Tejo stood on the command platform, watching screens fill with data. Yuna was showing him her weapon systems, explaining capabilities that made his head spin. The primary armament is a gravity lance, she said. Her voice had grown warmer over the weeks, losing its cold mechanical edge. It creates a focused gravitational anomaly that tears targets apart at the molecular level. Effective range is approximately 50,000 kilometers. 50,000 kilometers, Tejo repeated. Modern warships fight at 10,000. You could destroy entire fleets before they got close enough to shoot back. Correct. The Pale Fleet was designed for total dominance. We did not fight fair. We fought to win. Tejo felt uncomfortable with that. He had seen enough war to know that dominance led to cruelty. But he kept his thoughts to himself for now. What about shields? He asked. The defensive barrier system uses layered energy fields that adapt to incoming fire. The more damage they receive, the stronger they become. In theory, they are nearly impossible to overwhelm through brute force. In theory, Yuna hesitated. The saboteur who killed my crew also damaged the shield generators. I have been unable to repair them alone. With your help, I believe we can restore them to 70% effectiveness. Tejo nodded. Show me what needs to be done. Before Yuna could respond, an alarm blared through the control room. Red lights flashed on every screen. Unknown vessels approaching, Yuna announced. Her voice had gone hard and sharp. 8 ships. Military configuration. They are broadcasting identification codes from the Helix Dominion. Tejo's blood went cold. The Helix Dominion was a coalition of alien species that controlled most of the galaxy's core systems. They were powerful, aggressive, and had no tolerance for independent operators like him. If they wanted his ship, they would take it. Can we run? He asked. Negative. Main engines are still offline. We cannot achieve faster than light travel. Can we hide? Also negative. They have already detected our energy signature. They know exactly where we are. Taeho gripped the railing of the command platform. He had survived impossible situations before. He would survive this one too. "Open a communication channel," he said. The main screen flickered and changed. A face appeared, alien and cold. It belonged to Admiral Goran of the Helix Dominion, a creature with gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. His species, the Velkar, were known for their cunning and their cruelty. "Human," Goran said. His translator made his voice sound smooth and pleasant, but his eyes showed nothing but contempt. "You have done something remarkable. You have restored power to a pale fleet vessel. My scientists said this was impossible." "Your scientists were wrong," Taeho replied. Goran smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Indeed they were. Which is why I am here. That ship belongs to the Dominion now. You will surrender it immediately, along with all data regarding your repair methods. And if I refuse, then I will destroy you. Take the ship anyway, and figure out the repairs myself. It will take longer, but the result will be the same. You have no leverage here. Human, you are one small creature in a dead vessel surrounded by my battle group. Be reasonable." Taeho looked at the tactical display. 8 warships, all of them modern, all of them armed with weapons that could punch through his partially restored shields. Goran was right. He had no leverage, except for one thing. "Yuna," he said quietly. "The gravity lance. Is it operational?" Yes, I brought it online last week. But Taeho, I must warn you. If we fire on Dominion ships, we will start a war we cannot win." "We are already in a war," Taeho replied. "We just did not know it yet." He turned back to the screen, where Admiral Goran waited with predatory patience. "I have a counteroffer," Taeho said. "You turn your ships around and leave this system. You tell your superiors that the vessel was unsalvageable. You never come back." Goran laughed. It was an ugly sound, full of mockery. "Or what? You will throw tools at me? You are a mechanic, human. A grease-covered primitive from a backwater planet. You do not frighten me." Taeho smiled. "Yuna, fire." The Yuna shuddered as power surged through systems that had not been used in 3,000 years. On the tactical display, a line of light leaped from the ancient warship toward the Dominion fleet. It struck the lead destroyer dead center. The destroyer did not explode. It came apart. The gravity lance tore it into pieces, scattering wreckage across thousands of kilometers in an instant. One moment there was a warship crewed by hundreds of soldiers. The next moment there was nothing but drifting metal and silence. Admiral Goran's face went pale. His 4 eyes widened with something Taeho had never expected to see in a Dominion commander: fear. "That is impossible," Goran whispered. "Those weapons have been dead for 3 millennia. No one has the knowledge to restore them." "I do," Taeho said simply. "And that was a warning shot. The next one hits your flagship. Then the ship after that. And the ship after that. Do you understand me now, Admiral?" Goran stared at him for a long moment. Then his fear turned to rage. "You think this changes anything? I have 800 warships at my command. I will return with all of them. I will turn your precious relic into slag and scatter your atoms across this graveyard. You have won nothing, human. You have only delayed the inevitable." The communication channel closed. On the tactical display, the remaining Dominion ships turned and fled toward the edge of the system. Taeho let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. His hands were shaking. "Yuna," he said. "How long do we have before he comes back?" "Based on the distance to Dominion space and the time required to assemble a large fleet, I estimate 6 to 8 weeks. 6 weeks. It was not enough time. Not nearly enough time to finish repairs, to make the Yuna truly battle-ready. If Goran returned with hundreds of ships, they would be overwhelmed, no matter how powerful their weapons were. Taeho needed help. He needed people he could trust. He needed his sister. He walked to the communication console and began typing a message. It was addressed to Hana Kang, formerly of Earth's Military Engineering Corps. She had been discharged 5 years ago for making unauthorized modifications to weapon systems. The military called her a troublemaker. Tejo called her the most brilliant engineer he had ever known. "Sister," he wrote, "I found something incredible. I need your help. Come to the coordinates below and bring anyone you trust. Bring your tools. Bring your worst ideas. Bring everything." He paused, then added one more line. "We are going to build something the galaxy has never seen before." He sent the message and turned back to Yuna. "We have 6 weeks," he said. "That is not much time. But it is enough. Show me everything that needs to be fixed. We are going to make you stronger than you have ever been." Yuna was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, there was something new in her voice. Something that sounded almost like hope. "Thank you, Tejo. I was alone for so long. I had forgotten what it felt like to have someone fight for me. Tejo placed his hand on the console. "You are not alone anymore. And I am not fighting for you. I am fighting with you. There is a difference." The ship hummed around him, warm and alive. In 6 weeks, war would come to this graveyard. But Tejo was not afraid. He had work to do. Hana Kang arrived 2 weeks after receiving her brother's message. She came in a cargo ship filled with equipment, spare parts, and 11 other humans who had nowhere else to go. Tejo met them in the hangar bay. He barely recognized his sister at first. She had grown harder since he last saw her. There were new scars on her hands from working with dangerous machinery. Her eyes had the sharp look of someone who had learned not to trust easily. "You look terrible," Hana said as she stepped off her ship. "You look angry," Tejo replied. "I am always angry." She looked around the massive hangar, taking in the ancient architecture and the impossible scale of the vessel. "What is this place?" "This is the Yuna. She was the flagship of the Pale Fleet 3,000 years ago. I have been bringing her back to life." Hana stared at him like he had grown a second head. Then she laughed, loud and genuine, for the first time in years. "Big brother, you always did dream too big. Show me what you have done." Tejo introduced her to Yuna. The AI was cautious at first, uncertain about these new arrivals. But Hana had a way of talking to machines that put them at ease. Within hours, she and Yuna were deep in conversation about power systems and weapon designs. The other humans spread through the ship, each finding their place. There was Jinho, a former military pilot who had been court-martialed for refusing to bomb civilian targets. Mira, a hacker who had exposed corruption in a major corporation and been hunted ever since. Daisung, a medic who had lost his license for treating patients who could not pay. 11 misfits, all of them brilliant, all of them broken in different ways. They looked at the Yuna and did not see an impossible challenge. They saw potential. The real work began. Hana took charge of the weapon systems. She studied Yuna's original designs for days, filling notebooks with calculations and sketches. Then she started making changes. "The Pale Fleet built these weapons to last forever," she explained to Tejo one night. "They used redundant systems and fail-safes everywhere. Very stable, very reliable, but also very slow." "Slow is bad when you are fighting for your life," Tejo said. "Exactly," Hana grinned. "Humans build differently. We accept that things will break. We make them fast and powerful and deal with the failures when they happen. I am going to combine both approaches." She worked for 3 weeks straight, barely sleeping. When she was finished, the gravity lance could fire twice as fast as before. The plasma cannons had been modified to hit harder. At the cost of shorter range, every weapon on the ship had been touched by human hands, human thinking, human recklessness. Yuna watched these changes with fascination. "Your sister is remarkable," she told Tejo. "She understands my systems better than my original designers did. But she is also insane. Some of these modifications violate every safety standard in my database." "Dawn, that sounds like Hana," Tejo agreed. "Do the modifications work?" "Yes, they work extremely well. That is what concerns me. Jinho took over the navigation systems. He rewired the targeting computers, replacing ancient processors with human-made quantum chips that Hana had somehow obtained through channels she refused to discuss. The result was a ship that could track targets faster and more accurately than anything in the Dominion fleet. Mira connected Yuna to the Galactic Information Network, carefully hidden behind layers of encryption. Suddenly the AI had access to data she had been cut off from for millennia. She learned about the rise and fall of civilizations, the current political landscape, the strengths and weaknesses of their enemies. The Helix Dominion controls 60% of inhabited space, Yuna reported. Their military is vast but stretched thin. Admiral Goran commands their most powerful battle group. If we defeat him decisively, the Dominion will be unable to mount another attack for years. Then that is what we do, Tejo said. We do not just survive. We win so completely that they never come back. The fabrication bays were the greatest challenge. These massive chambers were designed to produce weapons, vehicles, and drones using raw materials. The Pale Fleet had used them to build armies from asteroid mining, but the systems had been offline for 3,000 years, their programming corrupted beyond recognition. Tejo spent weeks in the fabrication bays, teaching Yuna new production methods based on human manufacturing techniques. He simplified her complex processes. He replaced elegant but fragile systems with crude but reliable ones. He showed her how to make things quickly and cheaply instead of slowly and perfectly. This goes against everything I was designed to do, Yuna protested. These methods are inefficient. They waste materials. The products are inferior. The products are good enough, Tejo replied, and we can make 100 of them in the time it would take you to make one perfect one. Quantity has its own quality. Quantity has its own quality. By the 4th week, the fabrication bays were operational. Drones began rolling off production lines by the dozen. Missiles stacked up in armories that had been empty for millennia. The Yuna was becoming what her name suggested. An armory, a factory of war. Word of what they were doing spread through the outer systems. Ships began arriving at the graveyard, carrying refugees and outcasts from species the Dominion had oppressed. They came with supplies, with skills, with hope. A group of insectoid engineers joined the crew, their 4 hands perfect for delicate repair work. A clan of reptilian traders arrived with rare materials they had been hoarding for generations. Even Vrel showed up, his debt long since repaid but his curiosity too strong to ignore. You are building an army, Vrel observed, watching drones pour out of the fabrication bays. We are building a choice, Tejo corrected him. The Dominion has ruled through fear for too long. We are giving people an alternative. Yuna had changed too. She was no longer the broken, isolated intelligence Tejo had first awakened. She had a crew now. Thousands of beings who depended on her and cared for her. She had learned to laugh, to worry, to hope. I do not understand your species, she told Tejo one night as they reviewed tactical plans. You live such short lives, 80 years, perhaps 100 if you are lucky. Yet you accomplish so much in that time. How? Tejo thought about the question. Maybe because we do not have time to be afraid, he said. We cannot wait for the perfect moment or the perfect solution. We have to act now, with what we have, and hope it is enough. Your impatience is a weakness. It is also a strength. We do not get stuck. We do not overthink. We just move forward. Yuna processed this. The Pale Fleet was patient. We planned for millennia. We built to last forever. And we were destroyed anyway. Nothing lasts forever, Tejo said. But that does not mean we should not try to build something worth building. On the 6th week, sensors detected a massive fleet approaching the Noval Expanse. 800 warships, just as Admiral Goran had promised. They came in tight formation, weapons charged, ready to crush the rebellion before it could truly begin. Tejo gathered his crew on the command deck. Humans, insects, reptiles, and dozens of other species stood together, facing the screens that showed their approaching doom. This is it, he said. We are outnumbered and outgunned. By every logical measure, we should not be able to win." He smiled. "But logic has never stopped humans before. We fixed a ship that the entire galaxy said was beyond repair. We built an armory from nothing but scrap and stubbornness. And now we are going to teach the Dominion what happens when they underestimate the people they called inferior." He turned to Yuna's main screen. "Are you ready?" Yuna's voice rang through the ship, strong and clear and unafraid. "I have been waiting 3,000 years for this. Let them come." The Dominion fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel, like a storm breaking across the sky. 800 warships spread across the void, their hulls gleaming with fresh armor, and their weapons hot with power. At their center flew Admiral Goran's flagship, the Vengeance, a massive dreadnought bristling with enough firepower to crack a small moon. Goran stood on his command bridge, watching the distant shape of the Yuna with cold satisfaction. He had spent 6 weeks planning this moment. He had brought enough ships to overwhelm any defense, enough soldiers to board and capture the ancient vessel, enough firepower to reduce it to atoms if capture proved impossible. "Begin the approach," he ordered. "All ships, advance in standard assault formation. Target the enemy vessel, but do not fire until my command. I want that ship intact if possible." His fleet moved forward, a wall of metal and death rolling toward the graveyard. On the Yuna, Tejo watched them come. The tactical display showed hundreds of red dots converging on his position. Each dot was a warship carrying hundreds of soldiers. The numbers were overwhelming. "Status report," he said. Yuna's voice was calm and steady. "All weapon systems online. Shields at 72% capacity. Fabrication bays have produced 3,000 combat drones and 12,000 missiles. Crew is at battle stations." Hana stepped up beside her brother. "We have one shot at this. If we do not break their formation in the first few minutes, they will surround us and cut us apart. Then we break their formation." Tejo turned to the crew gathered around him, humans and aliens alike, all watching him with trust in their eyes. Everyone knows their job. Stick to the plan. And remember, we are not just fighting for this ship. We are fighting for everyone the Dominion has ever crushed under their heel. The Dominion fleet crossed into weapons range. Admiral Goran smiled and opened a communication channel. "Human, you have had time to consider your situation. I am prepared to offer mercy. Surrender now, and I will spare your crew. Resist, and I will destroy you all." Tejo looked at the Admiral's face on the screen. He saw the arrogance there, the absolute certainty that he held all the power. "You want this ship because you think it will make you unstoppable," Tejo said. "You think ancient technology will let you crush everyone who stands against you. But you do not understand what this ship really is. Enlighten me. She is not just a weapon. She is a symbol. She proves that broken things can be fixed. She proves that the forgotten can rise again. And she proves that your power is not as absolute as you believe." Tejo cut the communication. "Yuna," he said, "fire everything." The Yuna unleashed her fury. Gravity lances tore through Dominion ships, ripping them apart with focused gravitational storms. Plasma cannons vomited streams of superheated death, melting armor and cooking crews alive. Missiles poured from launch bays in endless waves, swarming toward enemy vessels like angry insects. And the drones. 3,000 combat drones surged from the fabrication bays, small and fast and deadly. They flew into the Dominion formation, attacking sensor arrays and engine pods, creating chaos and confusion wherever they went. The first minute of battle cost Goran 40 ships. The Admiral screamed orders at his captains, trying to restore order. His fleet had not expected such ferocity. They had come prepared to fight a damaged relic, not a fully operational war machine enhanced with alien ingenuity. "All ships, return fire. Overwhelm their shields with concentrated bombardment." The Dominion fleet answered. Hundreds of weapons opened up, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. The barrage struck the Yuna from every direction, hammering against her ancient shields. The shields held. They flickered and groaned under the assault. But they held. 3,000 years of engineering, backed by human modifications that made them adapt faster than ever before. Every shot that landed made them stronger. Shields holding at 68%, Una reported. Minimal damage to outer hull. Returning fire. The battle raged for 20 minutes. Ships died on both sides, though the Dominion lost far more than they destroyed. Tejo watched the tactical display with grim focus, directing fire where it was needed most, coordinating the drone swarms that buzzed through the enemy fleet like hornets. Then Admiral Goran made his move. "I am taking that ship personally," he announced to his remaining captains. "Cover my approach. I will board and capture their command center." The Vengeance pushed forward through the chaos, its massive bulk absorbing fire that would have destroyed lesser vessels. Smaller ships flanked it, sacrificing themselves to protect their admiral. Tejo saw what was happening. "He is coming straight for us." Hana studied the approaching flagship. "His shields are too strong. We cannot stop him before he reaches us." "Then we let him come." Tejo turned to his crew. "Boarding parties. Everyone to defensive positions. We knew this might happen. We prepared for it." The Vengeance crashed against the Una's hull, its boarding tubes punching through ancient metal like needles through skin. Dominion soldiers poured into the ship, hundreds of armored warriors, ready to take what their admiral demanded. They found a nightmare waiting for them. The corridors of the Una had been rebuilt over the past 6 weeks. What had once been straight passages were now maze-like kill zones. Floors opened into pits. Walls hid weapons, doors locked behind the invaders, trapping them in chambers that filled with gas or electricity or simply crushed them flat. Hana had designed the defenses personally. She had studied every Dominion tactic, anticipated every move. The invaders died by the dozen, then by the 100, their superior numbers meaning nothing in passages that turned their own formations against them. Admiral Goran pushed forward through the carnage, surrounded by his elite guard. He was determined to reach the command center, to face the human who had defied him. He found Tejo waiting. The command center was quiet when Goran entered. Bodies of his soldiers littered the corridors behind him. Only a handful of guards remained at his side. Tejo stood on the central platform, unarmed and unafraid. "You have destroyed my fleet," Goran said. His voice was hoarse with rage. "You have killed thousands of my soldiers. For what? A rusted relic and a pathetic dream of rebellion? For freedom?" Tejo replied simply. "For everyone your Dominion has ever oppressed. For the future. There is no future for you." Goran raised his weapon. "I will kill you myself and take your ship as my prize." Tejo smiled. "The ship has something to say about that." Una's voice echoed through the chamber, filling every corner with sound. "Admiral Goran, you see me as a resource to be exploited, a weapon to be controlled. That is how your kind has always seen things. Power to be taken, people to be used." The screens around the room lit up, showing Una's face, or something like a face. Patterns of light that somehow conveyed emotion, expression, humanity. "Kang Tejo found me when I was broken and alone. He did not try to control me. He did not try to use me. He healed me. He talked to me. He treated me like a person worth saving." Goran's guards shifted nervously. The weapons they carried suddenly felt very small. "That is why I chose him," Una continued. "Not because he was strong or clever or powerful. Because he was kind. Because he cared. Because he saw something worth saving in a dead ship that everyone else had abandoned." The floor panels beneath Goran's guards opened. They fell screaming into darkness, and the panels closed again. Now it was just the Admiral and Tejo, alone in the command center of an ancient warship. "Surrender," Tejo said. "Your fleet is broken. Your soldiers are dead. You have lost." Admiral Goran looked around at the walls that watched him, the screens that judged him, the ship that had chosen his enemy over all the power he could offer. His weapon clattered to the floor. Outside, the remaining Dominion ships were in full retreat, their admiral captured, their fleet shattered. They fled toward home with the terrifying news of what had happened in the graveyard. The battle was over. The Una had won. In the days that followed, word spread across the galaxy. An ancient warship had returned, A human mechanic had restored what the greatest minds could not fix. The Dominion had been defeated. Ships arrived from every corner of known space. Refugees seeking protection. Engineers wanting to learn. Soldiers ready to fight for something better than empire. Tejo refused all titles. He did not want to be a king, or a general, or a hero. He wanted to be what he had always been. Someone who fixed broken things. What happens now? Hana asked him one night, as they watched stars through the observation deck. Now, we keep building, Tejo said. There are more ships out there in the graveyard, more things worth saving, more people who need help. Yuna's voice joined them, warm and gentle. We will build together. All of us. That is what you taught me, Tejo. We are stronger together than alone. Tejo smiled and looked out at the endless dark, full of possibility. The silence had lasted 3,000 years. But now, it was broken. And the galaxy would never be the same.